Okay. Hello, everybody. I just said this and it bears repeating. I mean, I could live with this tattooed on the inside of my eyelids. I just pulled for just some inspiration for today's meeting. And I pulled workbook lesson 285. My holiness shines bright and clear today. And goes along with just the topic. So I was in the bus going shopping with a community member here at Namaste, and they asked me a question, and I think it's pertinent for all of us, because this is, I mean, God only knows I could relate exactly to what he was saying, and I'm sure others can too. So he has a dear friend, a special friend, and whom he loves. Okay. And he's had this recurring upset. And the upset is she's on a different path. Okay. And her path, I'll say this too, because this is exactly where I was for many, 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 many years. Her path is to make the government very wrong. Believe me, I know this one. And so he gets hooked every time she gets into her dialogue. He gets hooked. Now, he goes into prayer to see it differently, and then he becomes confused because he doesn't feel like he's hearing anything. Okay, so, and again, we live together, so, you know, there's always information that we get about people's process. And he was sharing that he's gotten into arguments with other people about this person. And these people tell him she's not doing mind training to see all through love. That is not her path. The best you can do is just move on. Now, he's heard this from several different people. So today, when, you know, he was talking, I said, well, I won't mention his name, blah, 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 blah. It sounds like you're on different roads heading in different directions. And he said whatever he said. And he said, yeah, everyone's been telling me that. He said, but I keep going into prayer. This is where you want to listen. But I keep going into prayer. I want to hear guidance. And I said, blah, blah. You've been hearing guidance from everybody. You just don't want to hear it. You want it your way. You don't want to move away from this special friend. You want it your way. And he really couldn't go there, but I know that this is a stumbling block for all of us in the mind training. At some point, it will come to this. And this is where humility, you know, we're reading here at Namaste, the manual for teachers together, which is really great. And, you know, we're in the characteristics of a teacher for God. Humility. I really want you to think about humility. I didn't even know what the word meant, really. I went through definitions and humility. Well, I think I'm humble, but this is where it lands. It's like being willing to see it differently than the way I want it. Okay, I'm going to say this again. Humility is being willing to see it differently than the way I want it. And this belief of I want it my way, ooh, this is the lead-off belief of I know something. And then it stretches in, I know what I want, and I know what I don't want. Ooh, get a new teacher, folks. This will cause great amount of suffering. Mucho suffering. Mucho suffering. Again, because, you know, and again, we've honed this skill of thinking our whole lives. And I bet most of us are over 50 at this point. So we've honed it for at least 50 years. We know what we like and we know what we don't like. And I'm just telling you, you don't know squat. You have no idea what's in your best interest. And this is where mighty companions are helpful. And I'm not talking about special friends. I'm not talking about lovers. I'm not talking about the best person in the world. I'm talking about someone that is working mind training on their own mind. That's a mighty companion. You've got to hook up with someone that's doing their own mind training. Now, and I can guarantee this, if you start sharing something like this situation with someone and your so-called mighty companion goes, yeah, I know, they're a pain in the neck. Ooh, they're not a mighty companion, folks. They're going to give you agreement and you're going to stay stuck into no humility, and I know what I like and I know what I don't like. And that is just not going to be helpful, even remotely, with mind training. I tell you, the mighty companion, oh man, I've had some great mighty companions. And I think I'd really worked with pulling back the projection for the most part by the time my mighty companions had come in. So I didn't kill them off immediately. But I did make them wrong initially. Like, oh, no, you're not hearing me. You're not understanding this relationship with this woman. Like if I were this man that I talked to earlier, this woman, I love this woman. But it's a special love, I would say. Special love has got to be let go of completely. And this is where people tend to fight and take back humility and make everything that's saying that wrong. Because we've got to, and you know, and this is where in the mind training, you come to that point of, and I've asked this to myself a lot, and when I'm working with one-on-ones, I ask it to others. Are you willing to give up this special love for the peace of God? And this is going to drag you deeper down the rabbit hole. Well, no, we love each other. We just have this one little argument all the time. And they want to make the government wrong, and oh, you know, and this person even said, I can't trust taking my sister or others around her because she'll get into these rampages. And yet he still doesn't want to let her go. And I'm saying, don't let her go and make her wrong. Love her enough to release her. Because, you see, our idea of love is really more like taking hostages. We like to take hostages. Come in. You know, I feel like a Black Widow spider right now. Come into my little web. Come in. I'll tell you the truth. And then we will love each other forever. It's an ego love. It's a special love. And what A Course in Miracles is taking us to is an eternal love. That does not exist between two people, no matter how much you love each other. It's not eternal. I'm not making it wrong. I'm just saying, if you get hooked repeatedly by someone you love dearly, like this gentleman, and yet she wants to rant about the government and make a lot wrong. In fact, make everything wrong. And he gets hooked when she does and gets angry and then tells her, I need you to think about this differently. He tells her, I need you to think about it my way. That's called a hostage. He wants her the way he wants her. He wants her to think the way he does. And then he prays to God to see it differently. This is level confusion, by the way. Then he basically prays about it to Holy Spirit. Holy Spirit, help, I need help, I need help. But he wants her to see it differently. He wants her to see it differently. And all the information he's getting from all his mighty companions is, no, honey, she's going in a different direction. She has no commitment to A Course in Miracles and seeing all through love. There is no commitment. But he pushes them away, going, oh, no, not the right answer. Holy Spirit, I need help here. I need to see it differently, but I want it my way. It's got to be my way. I want them to think differently because they'd be so much happier if they could see everything through love. Well, guess who's not loving? He is. And he's hearing it from all these people. You know, he wants answers from Holy Spirit. And then he says, I'm not hearing anything. I'm not getting any answers. And he's hearing this from everybody. And she's going a different direction. She's not committed to seeing all through love. She's committed to seeing error. And this is where we've got to get humble. Be willing to see it differently, no matter how hard it might appear. And believe me, I get he's suffering. I do. I get how deeply he loves this person. I do. But until he's willing to really let go, I mean, and this is, are you willing to let go of this special friendship, of this special love, in order to have the peace of God? And I didn't ask him that today, but my guess is, well, yeah, if I can get it my way. Well, yeah, if she would change her mind. And that's not what I'm asking. It gets to this point, and you can find those places in your own lives that it gets to. I mean, this was me with the topic of cancer. Are you willing to let go of being healed? Are you willing to let go of healing your cancer in order to have the peace of God. And it will confront you. I guarantee with whatever circumstances you're dealing with, it will be very confronting. Because I remember myself having this conversation with myself. Well, no, I don't want to let go of being healed from cancer. I just want it my way. I didn't say that, but that's really the way it was. No, I want the peace of God and I want to be healed from cancer. No, I told Calico, no, this is a yes or no question. Are you willing to let go of the idea of being healed from cancer as access to the peace of God? Yes or no only. This is not about giving me any long explanation. This is a yes or no question. And if I said no, then I knew I was doomed to suffer. But I didn't want to say yes, because then I felt like I was being doomed to suffer in other ways. So it's like really being honest, another characteristic of the teacher of God. Really being honest, and then finding a mighty companion that you can trust. They're doing their own work, and they're not going to just fall into agreement, because that's people pleasing. This is what we do. We also people please. So in order to not to lose these special friends, we go, well, yeah, no, you're completely right. No, you're completely right. She's wrong. She needs to change her mind. I've done this a lot too. This is called life and how we interact with it. Does that make sense? Are you following me on this? So what I really would like you to do is find one of those areas, and you might not have it. I always have one right available to me at any given time. Find one of those places where you know you're right and someone else is wrong. And it could be me. That's fine too. I'm fine being wrong. I'll agree with you. Yep, usually am. But this is about accessing another way to look at things. And it's really being humble and willing. Humble and willing. And for most, I mean, I'll speak for myself. I was raised not to be humble. And like I said earlier, I didn't know what the word humble meant. To me, humility meant you are so vulnerable to getting hurt here, to admitting you don't know what's in your best interest, and trusting someone else might have information that would be helpful. And I'm not just talking about the next door neighbor. I'm not even talking about your spouse or your lover in a relationship. I'm talking about, this is where Holy Spirit can use people that are mind training and clearing their minds to be helpful to others. That's a teacher of God. And it's not just, I use a Zoom call. Like, if you're coming onto the Zoom call, you're saying yes to mind training, because no one in their right mind would open the Zoom room up unless they had some willingness to mind train. Really. And we're all going through this together. And so it's trusting each other that, this is a good one. Okay, so I live in a spiritual community, and we're doing the manual for teachers together with a focus on mind training. Well, not everyone that walks into the room is open to mind training at all. And last week, I can't remember what we were discussing, but we're reading the manual for teachers. And she said, I just don't know why we can't be nicer to each other. It sounds reasonable. It does. It sounds reasonable. The reality is, it's bullshit. Everyone's doing the best that they can. I know this. But to expect others to just be kind ain't gonna happen. It's a dream of death, folks. This is not about changing the world so we can all hold hands and sing Kumbaya. Ain't gonna happen. This is where we're learning lessons that we need to learn in every moment, I might ask. In every single moment. So this woman was sharing, why can't we all just be nicer to each other? And then we could just all go on being happy. And all I said to her was, and it's definitely my truth, no one else is responsible for me being happy, but me. So when I see someone that it appears that they're not making me happy, that's time to pull the projection back. Where am I not making myself happy? You know, and this happened with this gentleman this morning. He was clear that they could just continue being quite copacetic in a loving relationship if she would change her mind. If she would just change her mind. No, there's no other mind to change other than mine. Ever. No matter what. No matter what. And believe me, I spent probably 7 or 8 years fighting what I saw as an illegal foreclosure off of my dream home, multi-million-dollar dream home. And the bank was obviously wrong. And every attorney I went to, everybody said, no, they're wrong. No, they're really wrong. No, they're really wrong. But guess what? It didn't matter because they didn't care. And so it was only me to pull back that projection of an icky bank. See, I was big into that government's icky. Well, banks are icky. I had a lot of icky. And I could make them wrong for lifetimes, and probably have. But I had to get humble and willing. And mine was done with prayer. I didn't even have any mighty companions. Because once I said, well, I'm leaving. I'm up and leaving. It's obviously not going to get resolved. They're going to take the home, and it's time for me to just leave. And then I got, from what I thought were mighty companions, they all said, no, you can't leave. You can't do that. You're right. But I had done enough work in my mind to know the only way to end my suffering was to let go of this home. Just walk away from it. It's creating huge pain, huge suffering. And I was totally stuck in I am right. And had all the agreement. Yes, you are, Calico, you're right. That's the way my dream of death was responding. No, you're right. Hang in there. You can do this. You can do this. And I even had, there were no lawyers in New Mexico that would even take on a big bank. So there was a guy heard about my case in Connecticut, a big legal firm. And he called me and said, we want to take your case on. And this is not class action. He wanted to take me on individually to take on this big bank. I thought, great. Well, that went on for about 2 years. And he had to move the venue out of New York because he found all the judges in New York were not taking cases against big banks because they were all paid off. So, I mean, it just went from one thing to the next. And then the Attorney General of New Mexico called this legal firm in Connecticut and said, you have to drop her, because if you don't drop her, we're going to make sure you never practice law again. That was the Attorney General, the Democratic Attorney General of New Mexico. And then my lawyer, who we had developed a very close friendship with, he called me from Connecticut, and we talked a long time about it. And that's when I really got, it's like, enough. It's enough. And I said, you know, you're a great attorney, and I've so appreciated getting to know and love you. And you are doing some good for some people. It's just my case, for whatever reason. See, I was giving myself this lesson. Because I needed to turn right, and I was going left. I had no humility. I was right. And I was unwilling to see it any other way. So in this conversation, I said, you go forth and you help whomever you can. I'm going to stop fighting, and I'm leaving. And I left. Gave all the animals away, gave all the belongings away, just walked away from my dream home that I built from ground up. And I felt fine about it, because I had Holy Spirit behind me. I was telling myself from the get-go, Calico, wrong direction. Calico, let this go, let this go. And I was just like this guy this morning. No, there's got to be another way. I'm not hearing the right information. And then, then the Attorney General, I even had the New Mexico Sheriff's Department come out with full flak uniforms and AK-47s to escort me out of my house. And they took me into a locked loony ward. I mean, it got insane, but I wasn't hearing the right stuff from Holy Spirit. Are you kidding? Calico, open your eyes. But you see, it was my lack of humility and willingness to be wrong. Not wrong in terms of the dream of death in the horizontal. I had to be wrong so that I could access the vertical, which is what we want. But I had to let go of this place because it wasn't ever going to lead me to the vertical. And everything in the dream was coming in going, this isn't working. Nothing's working. And I'm going, I just haven't gotten the right answer yet. I need to pray harder. No, I was getting the answer. I just did not want it that way. I wanted it my way. And I had a lot of support that my way was the right way. So that made it even a little more difficult. But eventually it was. I walked away from it. And then healing really started. And it started fast. And so I invite all of you to really find that part of your world that you really are fighting still. That you want it your way so desperately that you keep not hearing Holy Spirit. You just keep getting rehooked. And then I guarantee, and I was heading in that direction, you'll keep getting hooked and die with as much suffering as possible. Yeah. Hospice, it doesn't get much closer to that. So I just invite you to really take on those big areas, and you'll know the big areas because they return to you. They're the lesson that keeps on giving the gift of the lesson over and over and over, ad nauseum and over, ad nauseum. But we're not willing nor humble enough to allow ourselves to see the lesson for what it is. We're still playing the game of, I'm right, they're wrong. I see Patricia's here. I just want to refer something from last week that gives this example also. Patricia hanging on to all the, hi honey. I just, it was such a beautiful example of it. You had all these legal documents and your daughter's 24. We're not talking about a child that you're in actual custody over, but you felt like you had to go through these documents. No, once you get, it's just a lesson and it's just for me to let go, then throw the documents out, lesson learned. Because therapy will go into, well, how can you make peace with this knowing that you've been fucked? That's not what we're talking about here. There's no being fucked. There's only me being willing and humble to get, oh, maybe I need to change direction. I'm not in the right neighborhood. And so I just invite all of you, and this is, wow, this is like a deep dive. This will take you much deeper down the rabbit hole. That's all I can say. And really, that's what Jesus and Holy Spirit and all the billions of angels want for us. Let go of thinking you know something about yourself. This is right. This is the way I want it to go. And being willing to hear the greater guidance, which is let go of this special idol. For me, my special idol was keeping my home. Let go of this special idol and turn around and go the opposite direction. And it's deep. And yes, did I have tears? You bet I did. With every animal that drove off my property, I sobbed. I sobbed. But I didn't make it wrong. I made it, this is what I need to do in order to experience the peace of God. Okay, I think what we're going to do is say goodbye to all the YouTubers. Bye, YouTubers. And I'm going to turn off the recording and we'll stick around and we'll just, and I'll stick around as long as there are people that want to do this deep work for themselves. Because I say it's worthy of all of us to allow ourselves to drop into how we might not be willing and we might not be humble to see what's in our best interest. And I'll hold space for that throughout eternity. I can guarantee that, okay? So for right now, Zoomers or YouTubers, if you would like to get on the Zoom call and have the whole rich experience of it, just message me. I'm on Facebook. Message me with your email and I'll put you on the email list to get the link, okay? So with that being said, I'm going to stop the recording.